Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Between the Benches in playoff time, officially. Last time we came kind of before the playoffs. Now we are here. It is playoff time. And it's been fantastic so far. Has it? Hasn't
I've
it?
loved it.
Yeah.
It's been some of the series already are just already looking like all timers.
Absolutely. It's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've seen places on the internet saying that some of these playoff games are the best playoff games they've seen in a long time. So,
I mean, we'll get into them, but like that
Yeah.
Tampa Florida series, oof, that game one was just perfect.
yeah, honestly. All right, well, let's get right into our playoff games. We're going to talk about first the playoff games where there's only really been one game that we have to talk about so far, and then we'll kind of get into the series where it's been a little bit more meatier. So let's start with maybe the most lopsided game of the playoffs so far. Actually, probably two of the most lopsided games that we'll talk about in a second. Let's start with the first one, and that is the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues. Jake, what happened?
Yeah, you can say getting overrun is the theme of that one.
Yeah.
Jeez, the amount of shots that came from just right in front of the net for Colorado was nuts. I mean, I don't even remember what the shot total was, but it was just absolutely lopsided. Not that it typically matters, but it does when you lose 4-1, and you are expected to get walked pretty heavily.
Decisively lost 4-1 too.
Yeah, it wasn't a close 4-1. Oh, we'll give him 3-1 because of the empty net, but still doesn't
Yeah,
make
that's
it
true.
doesn't make it much better. Yeah,
Shots on goal. Oh, that's right. That was that lopsided. Colorado put on 50 shots on goal. St. Louis had 23. If you give, and we've talked about, you've specifically said in the past, Grubauer's games and why he's so good is because he makes what? 22 saves
barely
a game?
around what you would expect. How many saves?
Yeah. Any goalie makes, 18 saves a game and they're good? I mean, come on.
I mean, I would even say 25. Like
Yeah.
every game the average game has a goalie making about 25 saves.
So, you let your goalie only have to make 22 saves in a game, and you're sailing. And that's kind of Colorado, and that's how it's been for much of the year.
Last 2 years.
True. Yep, very true.
The more impressive thing is the fact that I've kind of put them off in some senses that a lot of the work that Colorado has done is on the power play, but yet only the first goal.
Yeah,
I mean,
correct.
You could say it got them rolling, but still, it's only one of the 4.
And it wasn't even much of a genuine power play goal. It's not like they cycled and shot. Well, I think it was off a face-off.
It was, the McCarr
From the
walking
point.
the blue line off the face-off.
Yeah, so even then, it's not like a, overwhelming power play goal. That was just a shot.
No, it was not. It was not a Tampa Bay Lightning power play goal.
No.
Where
Or
the puck-
last year when we used to talk about Vancouver, and that was the only way they could score a goal in the playoffs last year. So, yeah, that was true. Colorado earned their goals this game, and
Yeah, they got to the dirty areas. They got in front consistently, and that's the exact opposite of what you want to see if you're the Blues.
yeah,
Like,
it's
not
gonna be
only-
a rough series if that's all they see.
Like, you would have thought that maybe some power play goals, some good individual talents in the rush or off the sides with good shots. But the fact that they're not only that, but they're doing the blue collar work is kind of disheartening.
And I mean, you got to give Jordan Binnington a lot of credit. We were really questionable about his talent nowadays, or what he brings to the table nowadays, especially after last playoffs when it was questionable. Okay, did he have like a groin injury or something? Because you and I both saw him labor early, and it kind of got the Blues out of the playoffs and stuff. But he had a great first game. All right, Colorado won essentially 3-1. Right, they scored 3 goals. All right, and you get scored on 3 times. It's hard to say that goalie had a great game. He made 46 saves.
It is that there was 50 shots.
Yeah. He made 46 saves. That's absurd. So he had a great game for what he was given, and you can't expect that
Yeah,
every game.
the moment I say, yo, I'm done,
Yeah,
I'm out on Jordan Binnington, he has a fantastic game. Because, of course, that's just like our luck that we do. We say something, and then the exact opposite immediately happens. I mean, hey, all they have to do, though, is have him steal one of this next game, too, one of these road games. And I think they're still right there if you're Nashville, if you're St. Louis. Because when you're at home, I mean, the whole point of what we said in the preview was, can someone like Ryan O'Reilly, who's one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL, versus that top line? And it seemed from the ice time versus each other, they were already out there more or less at the same time in this game one, but on the road is a little harder to play defensively against them just because of zone starts and such. But if they can just sneak one of this next game two out and come home 1-1, I think they're still in a good place to maybe steal a game 6, game 7 series win.
yeah, I agree. I think they're still in this, despite the heavy odds against them. They are still in this. If they can steal a game, I think if they have to steal game 2. If they can't take game 2, it's hard for me to have much hope for St. Louis.
Well, the old cliche is you're not in trouble in a playoff series until you lose at home.
That's a valid point. Yes, correct.
I mean, cliches are cliches for a reason because generally there's some truth behind them.
Yeah. But that's our sample size really for this series. I mean, it really just comes down to that. St. Louis has not been able to stop Colorado. They've tried, but that Colorado first line of McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog were great, and they couldn't stop them. It's as simple as that. So, and like you said, those guys like O'Reilly, match to them. They just have to be able to stop them. But it is what it is. Binnington hopefully has another good game, and we see this series get competitive again. Yeah. Let's move on past that to one of the wild card series potentially that we were counting on, and that was the Nashville Predators and the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes won 5-2, and it was kind of what everyone expected, right?
Yes and no. Yeah, the result is what people kind of expected.
Yes. Yeah, fair.
But if the Predators just settle down, I think they're in business. There's definitely some bones there to work off of. They were just too scrambly with the puck. As soon as they got it, the mental clocks were too fast. A lot of it seemed like poor coach preparation for a game. Maybe don't scratch a player who's been part of your key stretch run. Maybe a smart idea. Maybe have the guys a little bit more prepared, and that even though it's the playoffs, you don't need to ramp the internal clock up that much where you're panicking every time the puck touches your stick.
Yeah.
But what was unfortunate is it reverted back in this game, which it hadn't been, to what we like to say, Philip Forsberg and his band of merry men, which is more or less Philip Forsberg dragging a dumpster fire.
That's exact. I mean, he has been the most consistent player, maybe in their history, I guess. Especially at least the last decade. He holds a lot of their
playoff records already.
He does, yeah, and no surprise that he continues to perform in the playoffs for them when no one else, or really when everyone else struggles too. And but he's not the guy that can just do the entire thing. He can't do the entire thing. You need the rest of your team. And
I will say though, Ryan Johansson on the Forsberg goal did fantastic on that play.
Yeah,
he deserves a lot of credit, but I will rarely give him a lot of credit. I think he's half of their problems.
Yeah.
But no, he stuck with the play along the wall. When it got back to him, he sent it right to the slot for Forsberg to make that crazy goal. So, a lot of credit there. But I mean, in this first game, a lot of the bones for a good series for Nashville did play out. Like their defense. Yes, the puck. They got a lot of shots because the puck was in the zone for a while, just because of Carolina loves to just send pucks from wherever they have them. Angles doesn't matter. That's been their calling card for a long time. They just they live off chaos. So the pucks are just going all over the zone. So they're the first. Of course, they're the first to pick it up because they're used to it flying all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Not a defense who's a little bit more structured. It's going to keep them from getting set. But when they got the puck, it was out. When they finally did catch up to it, which is a positive sign going forward. Series aren't won on game one. The one of the big things, though, in my mind, is they had that Carolina was able to have a hard match with Slavin on the top line, and it worked pretty well, and they were effectively able to get their top line into a favorable matchup. Like Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen,
Yeah,
ran away with their shifts
absolutely.
because they were able to get them out against guys who are inferior, like to their skill level.
And that's one of the most underrated lines in the NHL. I think those are three guys put together that actually can have the potential to do a lot of damage. I think they're guys that mesh well together, just what they do on the ice, and you give them that space, you give them the time to do things, and they will accomplish that. And you saw that in this game. They were, other than Jordan Stahl, they were pretty much the rest of this goals.
And the Jordan Stahl one was just sending pucks to the
Yeah.
slot.
Yeah.
I mean, good things happen. Like they were just hoping for a bounce. Like that was just trying to create a chaos play, and it worked. They sent a puck to the front. Stahl was able to pick up his own rebound and send it back.
Yep. Nashville kind of let them do what they want a little bit, and
The speed was a problem.
yeah.
The speed was a problem. You got to cash in on those power plays. If you're a team where you're obviously panicking on your time wise, where you have that extra space, you have to cash in at that point.
Yep.
You have to recognize that this is your opportunity. I don't. Besides that, I think that series was as advertised, more or less. Like it wasn't anything crazy. It's more or less as expected, but
Yeah.
I do think, just like the Blues, there's a stepping stone there for going forward. The defense was effective, I would say. I don't know. Might not seem that way to everybody just as the score, but what do you think about that?
I think Nashville's still legitimately in this.
I just think the coach needs to not screw themselves.
Yeah,
I'm a little angry about that.
John Hines, we've
You
notably...
don't want to see it won and lost off of just a bad lineup decision.
Yeah,
Like
that's another
It's
thing.
a different thing if it's a good coach, like matchups. That's good coaching, line management. But if just to say stupidity is a problem.
Yeah.
Don't scratch one of your better players. Like I don't get why. Does anybody know why that happened? I haven't seen
I
one.
don't. I think it's just legitimately just been a head scratcher. They scratched Tolvanen, who's been great this year, and who's been one of the legitimate bright spots on the team that has held them through this run that they had.
Yeah, I was avoiding it, not to get angry, but
No.
well, you don't want to see just blatant stupidity.
And that's also a guy they've been waiting on for years. And the time has come, and they're kind of cashing in a little bit on his potential, and he's rising to the occasion. And to scratch him is a little bit not about it.
A little bit.
It's a lot of
I mean, I made the,
he's a part of the roster, I think.
He should not be scratched.
Yeah.
Under any circumstances at this time of year.
100%. 100%.
I mean, I made the under my breath comment in the last episode that you probably should still be fired, and yeah, that's like strike 10.
Yeah. All right, let's move past that series. Let's go to a game we've seen, or a series we've seen two fantastic games in, one of which were talked about for the next day, all day online. I saw. That is the Lightning and Panthers series. Game 1 was phenomenal. Game 1 was everything you want to see in a playoff game, right? I mean, legitimately, everyone loved that. And Game 2 wasn't so bad either. But let's kind of break this down because I felt like there was really a lot in these games.
Yeah, not only was it, there was some good scoring, but it was nasty.
Yeah.
Like, just as people kind of expected with how the season ended with those two. I mean, the Sam Bennett hit on Coleman.
Which was 100%, me and Jake both agree.
Oh, that was
suspension.
One. You see it
and
happen.
It happened, and that's that, yeah.
You see it happen, it's like, stands out.
Yep.
It's one of, like, a lot of playoff suspensions, as you know them when you see them. There's no gray area.
Yeah, that was...
Black and white, that's a suspension.
You hit someone on the numbers on their back through
also
the boards.
Charged through
Done.
it, and you got hit with... You didn't get penalized for boarding, you got penalized for charging.
Yeah.
Which, if you get penalized for charging, hitting somebody in the numbers, you're getting a game.
Yeah. Yeah, especially crunched into the boards. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So there's really not any kind of controversy on that.
But besides that, that first game was so fun. Yeah. I think Florida wishes they got a save or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think some of the goals were the best to give up. But
same as far as Game 2, I feel like. I feel like there were a couple of Game 2 that I was not happy about if I was Florida. I mean, but some of it also falls on Florida's defense as well. Game 2, at least.
Maybe don't hard match Uyghur and Forsling to Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Andre Palat.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a good idea.
No.
I mean, I know you don't have Ekblad, but you have better pairings than that. Which apparently that's their first pair. Hey, Quenneville won cup, so we'll get benefit of the doubt, but...
I've never been a fan of Quenneville's line management, but that's just me.
I mean...
Even when it was Chicago, but whatever. But nonetheless, I mean, Tampa Bay did a really good job in these games as far as the hockey part of it went. And both teams did a good job playing competitive against each other. There just is a legitimate... I think in this series, you can really tell the legitimate difference between each team and their skill level and how comfortable they are in the playoffs and stuff like that. I really feel that Florida is just not at that level that Tampa Bay's at.
Well, what I'd wish to see is Florida has the guys to... You should have been able to hard check. You had the home ice.
Yeah.
You have a good goalie. I'm saying that still. It's Bob and even Knight.
Bobrovsky had some good saves still. I mean, legitimate. Oh, I know. That's right. Second game was Driedger.
I know all about that. He got a significant amount of starts.
Yeah.
In this season and last season.
He had some good saves last night, though.
I'm not going to your third best goalie.
Yeah.
Like, I would squarely already put Knight ahead of Driedger. But besides that,
I don't know why they had to make that change. I mean, I don't think based on Game 1 that you make that change already. And you and I, who did we have this conversation? Oh, we had this conversation about Nashville. Is as soon as Nashville decides...
Make questionable lineup decisions. It wasn't even just the goalie.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true. As soon as they make a lineup decision that's questionable, that we were like, the series might be over.
Game 1.
Yeah, so...
I'm a little heated.
We're not even on that series anymore.
I'm a little heated about it.
Yeah. But I don't know why they made that goalie change.
But besides that, we're told for years now how Barkov's this great two-way player. Mm. Won the Selke over...
That's right.
Over, Bergeron and whomever.
That's right.
This is the time. This is where you show that. This is, those guys that he was compared as already being better than had done those at younger ages and more consistently in the playoffs as well. where's the Selke play? You're needed now. Like home ice, your top defenseman is no longer there. The decision the weight of that load is going to fall on you as the number one two-way center, and you were given the matchup against them and did not do well. Objectively, like that line has gone nuts in the first two games already.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just I don't.
And yeah, you
Florida plays real. They're just. It doesn't seem like they're comfortable with the puck on a lot of these chances. It feels like they fumble the puck too much. Like they're just too sloppy.
well, they're playing like the
compared to
regular
Tampa
season.
Bay.
You got like Anthony Duclair flopping himself into the boards. Like no, this is different. Like that's
Yeah.
not going to get called. Mm-hmm. You may make a living off of getting some chintzy penalties and then scoring on power plays. It's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
The Leafs have learned that lesson the hard way, and it's one of those. There's one of those growing pains that if you don't know, you're going to have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and I think it does go also to that lack of experience compared to Tampa Bay, who's been in these playoffs and they're comfortable, and this is a core group that's been together for a long time, and that's that, really.
Yeah, it's so like we said earlier, you're not in trouble until you lose at home. I keep forgetting the fact that the Lightning are the lower seed in this.
Yeah,
So that's
they go home now.
two road steals.
Yeah. And
That they were in those games that they were effectively able to match better than the home team.
Florida actually had an audience, too. It's not even like they didn't.
I mean,
I was impressed.
they were able to be full capacity, and it was
Oh, I
it was a
can't.
Florida crowd.
That's fair. That's fair. But I was impressed nonetheless by their crowd. That's funny that you say that because it looked very 30%ish.
Well, it's better than normal.
It is. It's a playoff game. And we saw a rat at one point, I believe. Just one rat because they haven't won, but
Well, all right,
We-
yeah.
we may never see another rat for the rest of this series. Let's move on from Tampa Bay and their just hopeful back-to-back run. And let's move on to the Islanders and the Penguins. East Division, who both series are 1-1. And we've seen, 3 overtimes out of these 4 games so far in the East Division?
Well, 4 of the first 5 games overall of the playoffs went to overtime.
Valid point. Valid point.
I like this series.
I do too, but yeah.
I don't know. The overall consensus that I've seen is like people aren't really feeling it, but I like it. It's a little sloppier than Boston,
Oh,
Washington.
Yeah. 100% sloppier. I agree with that. But I kind of think that's like a more of the style of the
But
series.
I think both of them are just super even. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even in the goaltending, which has
And
been,
that's okay. Yeah, that's my part about this series. My whole entire take on this series is it's like the lack of goaltending each game. Tristan Jarry, I didn't like what he did game 1 and they lost. I mean, he let up 4. Last game, game 2, Varlamov really did not play well, especially for Varlamov on the Islanders. Varlamov on the Islanders is a lot more trustworthy than a lot of other goalies, with their defense and everything. And
Sorokin was considerably better.
yeah, Varlamov let up some goals. That Brian Rust goal should not have been a goal by any means. I mean, yeah, it was a great shot, but that's a far out shot. There's nothing else in that play. He just shoots the puck, and I feel like you got to be there. I feel like that's a
Caught
save
him
you got to
sleeping.
make. He did, but that's not a guy that should be sleeping. And now the Islanders might question their goaltending because the reason Varlamov didn't play game 1 is because he was injured. You might have to go back to Sorokin.
He wasn't even dressed.
He wasn't dressed. Yeah, that's correct. So now maybe you're playing a little bit sketchy with this goaltending thing. Now Barry Trotz is also a guy that can handle that kind of situation. Opposed to John Hines or other coaches.
Well, I don't know about that because the first game in particular had some concerning issues on the Islanders.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did win the game, but it was a terrible goal to give up by Yari.
100%. Yeah.
he chases matchups far too much sometimes.
Yep.
The matchups is something I'm going to harp on because it's a big part of the playoffs that no one really talks about. But you were on the road, so trying to chase matchups can get you in some big trouble. And the amount of times where he would force the Pollock Pellick matchup on the Crosby line, which I mean, in a in a vacuum sounds like a great idea, like your best pair versus the top line.
I actually thought those guys did a fantastic job against Crosby in the second game. I saw them actually shut down Crosby a little bit. At least
Well, see,
it was
here's
the
the thing:
first
is
period
that line
I watched.
that line had less ice time versus them with each other. The second game than the first game. The first game it was significant, like it was like a 1-for-1.
And you're gonna get worked by Crosby at some point in time.
And I think Crosby had a much better game one than he did in game two.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
So for him to have success from you because of you chasing your top line matchup instead of letting the game come to you a little bit more on the road, which is kind of what you have to do, is concerning because you're known for these two guys not getting scored on that much.
Yep.
And they got pretty handedly, in my mind, caved in.
Yeah.
Besides that, I mean, it's just been checking, like I don't think the Penguins. I think they're trying to play reserved, knowing that they can't make too many mistakes. Because if they just play and if they lean on skill, they can win off that. I don't think the Islanders can play that same game.
Oh, 100%.
Islanders have to play their game and hope it works.
Yeah.
The Penguins can go outside their comfort zone and win on individual talent.
Which we've seen the Islanders in the series. We've seen their defense be a little bit shakier than usual, for sure. And that's a lot of what their game is. They're kind of been a defensive juggernaut over the last 3 or 4 years since Barry Trotz became head coach. And there's some questionable times on defense during some of these games.
I mean, pat on the back for the podcast. One of our, I guess you want to call them X factors from the preview, has been a driving factor in both games, and the speed of guys like Kasperi Kapanen.
Yeah. Actually, his entire line has been great.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Carter's had nothing but the Midas touch since...
And he scored in Game 2.
Scored in Game 2.
On a terrible goal let up by Varlamov, by the way, but a goal's a goal in the playoffs. Hands down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it looks... I know they stole that one game, the Islanders, but I don't think it looks great for them, to be honest.
I don't think so either. I still think this is anyone's series at the moment. I mean, it is 1-1, but I think the Islanders need to work a lot harder to win in 4 than
if the Penguins come back and win come right back and win game 3.
It's a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy.
Yeah, I agree.
Because again,
with that.
if you lose at home, you got to take one now.
Yep.
And if they take it right off game 3, it's one of those things where then you can put the dagger in them, which the Penguins are really good at doing.
And you know what? I think if the Islanders win Game 3, right? Islanders are up in the series 2-1. I wouldn't be comfortable for the Islanders. I would be a lot more comfortable than this 1-1 right now. But I feel like the Penguins, can still do it if they're down 2-1 to the Islanders this year. But I think if it goes the other direction, like you just said, the Penguins go up 2-1 in the series, I think that's a lot harder. I don't have faith in the Islanders being able to come back from a 2-1 in this series than I do the other way around.
Not less than ideal Islanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Anders Lee's there, I would feel much different.
Yep.
It's, again, going back to how that shouldn't be as big of a problem, but it is.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a huge play driver on the Islanders side.
No. I mean, Barzal gets the break in once or twice, and he can do some work, but he hasn't been real effective this series so far.
Like, the defense along the walls for the Penguins has been good enough.
Yep.
Like, nobody's digging pucks out for the Islanders. Like,
correct.
Their fourth line guys that, for them, make or break in a times drive play just because of who they are. I mean, they're getting some pucks out and can keeping a cycle going, but nobody else really is, and that's what I feared with the Barzal line without Lee. Like it's just not happening. The puck goes in, they might cycle it for a little bit, but as soon as it gets shot or released, no one's picking it up.
And I really feel like I've noticed that the Islanders have really struggled with a man advantage too. I don't. It feels
Well,
like
they don't have the net front.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
the biggest part of a power play
Yeah.
is taking the eyes away, because you can just station somebody there and then still have a one-on-one.
Anders Lee was the dude. Anders Lee was legitimately the guy. We saw that last playoffs last year. We saw him be a genuine, like a big factor.
Well, the whole point of
in front of the net.
the best power plays are the ones that try and create 2-on-1s down low.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what him being there does. Is he can get the puck at the side of the net and send it to Barzal or somebody on the other side, or be his own option for a back door or tips even in front.
Yep. Yeah.
Some power play units just live or die by their net front guy, and they're one of them.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on from them. Let's move to the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. And you and I looked good after this game one. We looked like we actually genuinely knew what we were talking about being on the Wild
or
train.
two, just maybe one, a thing.
A thing. We looked like we might have known a thing. We picked the Wild in this series, I believe. And they looked good game one. I mean, this was a great game, I think. This was a great game, especially if you like to watch defenses. These are two teams that have one of the best defenses in these playoffs. And you went as far to say that Minnesota has the better defense out of these two. And so far, I think in this series, they still do. And Cam Talbot, man. Cam Talbot played as good as Fleury. Cam Talbot played fantastic. 42, I believe it's a 42 save shutout. And they went in overtime 0-0. Joel Eriksson Ek in front of the net, which is one thing I noticed so much about the Wild in this first game, is they were able to bring the puck or get the puck to someone in front of the net often and easily. And I was
Actually, I tried to do in game two, but it didn't work out as well.
yeah. Game two they came out real hot and heavy on the shots. We saw their usual game shot total in the first period. So that was rather impressive from a team like the Wild against the Vegas Golden Knights in a playoff game. I was extremely impressed. They didn't get it done, and I don't think they had the quality shots that they usually have in some of these games. So maybe they've gotten a little bit excited. Maybe they've gotten a little bit eager to just put the pucks on the nets and stuff. But their defense has still played very well. I got to give a shout out to Matt Dumba, who's done a fantastic job in both zones. He did score a goal in game two, and he is blocking shots everywhere at least in game two. So he's done a great job. Their defense is doing well. Cam Talbot's playing as well as you can expect Cam Talbot to play. And this game is 1-1, and honestly, I think it's more even than people expected it to ever be.
I'll see about game three.
Yeah.
Because one was probably best case scenario one way.
Oh, absolutely.
One was more or less best case scenario the other way.
Yep. I think this really has been built up to be a legitimate series, like one of these top series this year.
I loved what Minnesota was able to do in the first game.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that they couldn't keep that going for them.
Yep.
Because they just defensively handled the Knights.
Yeah.
Like everything was outside. They didn't allow almost anything to the slot, and then in the next game was the absolute role reversal, where everything was going to the slot. It was like basically it was inverse in both ways. The Wild were able to get to the slot the first game and keep the Knights away, and the second game was the exact opposite.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, this is anyone's series, and we just got to watch more of it at this point. That's it.
Yeah. It's really even. It's a lot more even than I think a lot of people besides us picked.
I think Vegas is playing just as expected, and I think Minnesota's playing as well as you could possibly expect from them, and that's a good series. And I believe we only have one series left.
Yep. The one that has been I think the most wild so far.
I think so.
Every game that they seem to have is a 1-goal affair.
Okay, you've probably heard it
Yep.
because they say it every
game.
single game, every single period so far this series. The last now 11 playoff games between the Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals have all been decided by 1 goal. And
Wasn't this 12 now?
well, it's going to be 12, correct. It's going to be 12.
Because it's in overtime currently.
Yes. It is currently in overtime. We are recording on Wednesday, and it is in overtime, actively 2-2, game 3. Every game's been in overtime. The last time I saw the Caps do this, they won the Stanley Cup, so whatever. And it's just been a great series. This has been everything you could hope for in a playoff series. It's been as physical as any of these series have been. You've had
They let him play up until today, or really last game.
Yeah, they did let him play. And it's been so even. It really has been so even, I believe. I mean, you don't know who's going to win any of these games at any time. I mean, it also helps it goes into overtime. But yeah. What do you have for this series? Because I'm all emotion for the series. But
I think Washington has had the better of most of the play. It's just the first game, if you win just some face-offs in the first half of the game,
yeah, that's correct.
you start to run away with that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
The second game was poor matchups, in my opinion. They figured out, because in the first game they went with Eller, Sheary, and Raffle against Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand. Went okay. Second game was a train wreck. I mean, it seems like every game, everyone on that line has a goal that they either miss or some crazy block shot happens or save until, and I think it's mostly been luck so far, which is not something you want to see if you're Washington.
Well, as far as the goaltending has gone for Washington, luck is literally everything we needed. Because, first of all, Vitek Vanacek, who's been the guy, he's been the guy this entire season for the Capitals. And then he gets injured. When did he get injured? First period?
Yes.
Late first period or maybe second period.
I think it was like 6 minutes left.
Yeah. And he gets injured, groin pull. It's stereotypical groin pull. Kicks out the leg, whatever. And he's out. Craig Anderson's the guy because Samsonov was on a COVID thing. So Craig Anderson comes in, holds the fort for the rest of the game. And there was a lot of sketchy moments. Don't get me wrong.
Some?
Yeah. A lot of sketchy moments. Bad rebounds. But nonetheless, held it down. Caps won in overtime. Game 2, it's all Craig Anderson start to finish. Real rough start. I mean, just bad. Starts to hold it down. I think he went like 39 saves in a row. They lose in overtime. And that was all Brendan Dillon. Just terrible choice. The Caps trying to break out. He turns the puck over.
He had a similarly bad read on a...
it's not okay.
I forget if it was game 1 or game 2.
Yeah.
But the decision to chase the puck carrier out to the point is always wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody at any level ever taught him to do that.
Well, that's also after he turned over the pass, the breakout pass. He turned over the breakout pass and then...
I'm not even talking about the overtime.
Oh, okay,
goal.
gotcha. Yeah.
I'm talking. I forget who it was. It was somebody. Somebody scored right in front of the net.
Yeah.
And it's just because whoever scored the goal filled the zone that he just left to go to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Just went there and said, "Hey, I just get me the puck and we're gonna get a goal here."
Yeah.
Exactly what happened. Because most NHL players could recognize if a defenseman goes full stupid.
Yep. And Brandon Dillon has never made my favorite choices as far as defense goes.
I think that's just the San Jose Sharks defense thing.
Because
Justin Braun does the same thing.
Through it, yeah.
Does the same thing. He just all of a sudden up and chases the puck carrier out to the point.
Yeah. I don't get what that is.
The single like one off just bonehead plays where they go full stupid.
Yeah. And so that leads to the overtime goal there. And then game 3, it's just more of the same, man. More of the same all the way around. Samsonov plays, at least. He starts the game. And he's been having a great game so far. I've been very, very happy with how he's been playing.
That might be a suspension.
Oh, yeah? What happened?
I don't know. I just kind of caught it at the corner of my eye. Not enough to really say right now, but...
Okay. I'm sure we'll see it. But yeah. That's really it for... This series has been just so even.
You got to figure out what to do because you have not figured out an answer on Bergeron's line.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
Them missing the net has been your answer so far.
Yeah, 100%.
I just think, in my opinion, I think it's because Peter's going for was trying to keep his top line away from them too. Like, don't hurt yourselves in the hopes of, don't outthink yourself.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Backstrom's not a guy where you need to shelter their line. Like he can play good enough. Like he can play defense to match them while the rest of the guys can do the offense. Like Mantha has been great on that line.
Great.
And
I think Mantha's also strong enough to be able to hold his own too. Which Mantha's a story in his own because he's just looking for passes way more than he should be. I mean, he should be shooting on so many occasions.
I counted 5 before I came over here in this game alone.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I really don't get it.
Well, it's because I think in the first game and a half, he lost confidence in his shot.
Maybe.
The amount of times he missed the net clean on wide open chances.
I mean, the guy has a good shot, and he could score goals. And he's had great attempts in breakaways. I mean, when he has the puck and he's the lone carrier into the zone, he does make the full attempt to shoot and everything. But, yeah, he just needs to do it more, even with people around him and stuff, and not pass. So.
Yeah, put your big guns out there. That's my really takeaway for the series so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I have to see the numbers after the game on because now it's the Bruins' turn to really force that hand.
Yeah.
But from what I've noticed, it was more of Backstrom, especially I think since Eller's hurt. Which is, I think
he's playing, I believe, but I think he might be.
I didn't see him much this game.
Oh, then maybe he's not. Okay, all right.
But then again, it's probably because he's not getting a handful more of the minutes because you're playing a matchup.
Yeah.
Like I just seen too many teams against Boston in particular because you're so afraid of your big guys getting taken out of the series by him that you're not focused enough of what his line mates and him can do offensively.
Mm-hmm.
To where now you're shortchanging yourself in 2 aspects. You're bad defensively or not getting the scoring you need offensively.
Yeah.
Because you're either not given ice time or whichever one. It's just from chasing matchups, it just ends up being a problem if it's not the right one.
Mm-hmm. All right. That really rounds it out. I mean, we have so much playoffs to go, and we have so much series to go in this. There's 2 series that haven't even started yet.
Well, one I think just started. Oh,
literally
an hour in.
So we have so much to go, and every single series is so far from over. And yeah, so that rounds that out. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Between the Benches JD. We did our own kind of tail of the tape like preview thing for each series before it started. and I guess we still are because the Canada ones haven't started yet. And so that's that. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, and we'll see you just a little bit later in the series.